Hello and welcome to the Your Financial Pharmacist Real Estate Investing Podcast, a show all about empowering pharmacists to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. I'm Nate Hedrick, and each week, my co-host David Bright and I explore stories from pharmacists all over the country who are achieving their real estate goals while maintaining a meaningful career in pharmacy. Whether you're a first-time investor or a seasoned pro, we're here to provide education and inspiration about the world of real estate. Please note, this podcast is intended for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial or investment advice. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey, good. Thanks. How you doing, man?
Good. We are winding down. School is about to get back, and I just had an awesome summer. It's been really fun. And again, today's discussion on goals, which is what we're going to get into in a second, it's making me reflect on that as we get into fall and kind of resetting some of those real estate goals.
Yeah, it seems like there's some really good windows in seasonal shifts and things like that, where you're getting into a different gear, things like kids going back to school, where just how your day goes, that it might make sense to stop and sit back and look at goals again. So yeah, with market shifts, with everything that's going on right now, this can be a great time to make sure that your effort is going in the right direction, particularly when, as full-time pharmacists struggle to find too many hours in the day to work on real estate. It's easy to just forget and keep just taking care of little tasks along the way without looking at the big picture.
Yeah, completely agree. It's easy to set a goal, but not write it down or not be intentional about it. And again, all of us fall victim to this, but I'm excited to talk about our guests today because they seemed really focused on goals. They're really intentional about how they attack those goals. Just came across as goal-oriented individuals. And I thought it was a really nice segue for them to talk about that. So Alex and Erin Failaev, a pharmacist and physician's assistant, really awesome individuals with kind of a crazy background. I don't want to ruin the story, but they've done some really interesting things in the real estate space and just have grown very, very quickly.
Yeah, they don't just talk about goals, but they also talk about just crushing those goals and way faster than they thought, which is, I think, a fun thing too, about setting a 5-year goal and then watching sometimes that get accomplished even faster. So for them, they went from buying their first rental property to now they're getting close to 50 rental units in less than that 5-year window.
Yeah, they really have grown quickly, and they really value the education piece, which I think is important. Again, as our podcast focuses a lot on education and inspiration, they have a ton of background in the learning side of things, and it's clearly that they've done their homework. You know, they apply some of that strategy that makes their investing journey just a little bit easier because they have the education that they need to go ahead and move forward, which is great.
Yeah, I think one thing we see as we interview pharmacists that are going through pharmacy school, that pharmacists really learn how to learn effectively and learn quickly and learn then how to apply that knowledge. And so today's guests really did that. They start out with some super relatable stories about just kind of slowly getting started with fixer-upper houses, but going from there with some pretty advanced strategy pretty quickly, and how that strategy and how that learning gets applied in order to just ramp up so fast, whether it's working with contractors or seller finance. They touched on a lot of interesting topics along the way that accelerated their journey just by studying up and learning what they're doing well.
Yeah, lots of good nuggets in here, lots of inspiration. So hope you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoyed conducting the interview. Here you go. Hey, Erin, Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, we're excited to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so glad you guys reached out. Your story is incredible, and I'm just really excited to share it with our audience today. So again, appreciate you guys being here. Why don't you jump right in, give us a little bit of background on the two of you guys.
Okay, so I guess I'll start. I'm a pharmacist, an overnight pharmacist. I work in a couple of hospitals right now. I was born and raised, I was raised in Israel. And I was imported here by my lovely wife in 2009. And that's pretty much it. Like, I love what I do. I love pharmacy. I love real estate. I really enjoy family time. And
yeah,
that's my show.
I was born on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, near the ocean. Ironically, I like the mountains more than the ocean. But my career path was physician's assistant. I was supposed to go to pharmacy school with him. We decided we were going to go together, and then I wanted more people interaction, so I switched. But I appreciate definitely what he does. And then since really the pandemic, I've completely transitioned to real estate. So
wow, that's awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah, so tell us about that. That's a big transition, obviously, from all the training that goes into getting a physician assistant training to a big shift into real estate. Can you tell us your real estate journey so far? What's taking you that direction?
Our journey began in 2020 per se, but it was actually began a long time before when we always looked into real estate. We always looked into other income sources, and we actually had right before pharmacy school, literally
Literally
before
like the
the
month.
month before, we opened a coffee shop, like a coffee shop in Salisbury, Maryland. It was
A
the
bakery and
best
coffee shop.
bakery. It was the best. Like honestly, it was the best coffee shop, cafe, bakery in town.
Homemade breads, homemade baked goods.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Going to school doing this.
yeah. So literally, we were going. She was going to school before that, but it was insane. So we were always trying to be an entrepreneur, and it was horrible. It was amazing, but it was horrible.
It was a great business education, and that's what we took it as. So that was kind of what started our, like, we want to think outside the box of being like just a career minded. My father was always in business for himself. He was always an entrepreneur. He never worked for someone else. And so I kind of grew up in that household with that mindset. But there's also a lot of insecurities with that as well. And so Alex came from also wanting to embrace that, but also wanting to have a security. Like, we're Jewish, so he had to be a doctor, lawyer, or he kind of scooted by with a pharmacist. So.
Close enough,
exactly. This is plan C. Doctor, pharmacy, and the pharmacy is gonna be plan C.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we wanted to do something different. It really kind of honed in on that more. 2020 was our year, but we started really looking into it 2016.
Yeah. So 2020 we began our real estate journey, and our first deal was actually like we finally got So in 2015 we didn't have that much cash available to actually go and dispense it and dispose of it into real estate and activate it. But in 2020 we actually had some funds via refi, and we were actually able to start to do the investment.
Well, we were in a different mindset too.
Yeah.
Like in 2015, we're like, we want to work. We were finally getting a paycheck for the first time. That was like
That was
not like $10 an hour.
Right.
Like it was nice. And so like we were very happy and comfortable there for a little while. And then we had I found out I was pregnant, and then I had like an emergency C-section and had a birth at 24 weeks instead of 40 weeks. And so that kind of like rocked our world, first of all.
Sure.
But it really made us have to shift our mindset. We had to go from a position of 9 to 5 is great to this is not going to work with our lifestyle. Like I want to be able to be present, for every moment that's going on in this NICU experience and all that. And so I was, thank God, able to quit work, but he had to work 3 jobs. And like we're like, okay, once we kind of got out of the whole situation, he was home and more stable, like we had a big talk. We're like, okay, something in our life needs to shift. What we're doing isn't going to work. And luckily we're surrounded by entrepreneurs. So we just kind of started educating ourselves. And that was like what we spent the next couple years doing, is really education. And he liked real estate a lot. I was kind of on the fence. My dad had a rental when I was growing up, and there were horror stories around it. And so that was my perspective of rentals, is like, don't. But he didn't have that perspective, thank God.
No.
So.
Well, I love that perspective though, because so many pharmacists and other, again, professionals graduate, get into the weeds and think, man, I'm locked into this. This is the only thing I can do. And again, we're really supportive of pharmacy careers, professional careers, and all that. I think there's a balancing act to be found. And what you guys are trying to do is find that balance. And you're doing that through things besides just your career path. And I think that's really cool. And if we go back to, right, so that first early on, you graduated, you've got all this student loan debt, presumably all the other things going on. And you guys are like, all right, I want to jump into something different. You've got the coffee shop running, and you bought a fixer-upper, right at the beginning,
Yes.
As your first primary residence. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we actually did 2 things. So we stayed with our parents for a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then we decided to buy a house, but before that we actually decided to do what are we doing? Are we doing renting or are we doing buying? So I'm a really numbers guys, and I say, okay, what is the break even point? Because when you're buying a house, it's not you're buying a house. You're buying a liability with everything else. You're gonna have an HVAC gonna fail on you. You're gonna have something gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not just your mortgage payment.
Yeah,
That's what people tend to forget.
So we kind of did an analysis, and we said, okay, if we have this house for 5 years or more,
It makes
then
sense.
then it makes sense to buy it. If we're gonna be in this area less than 5 years, it's not worth buying
because of the closing costs and everything, which we're gonna break it.
And then we're just gonna say we're gonna rent and put our money elsewhere, because we're not gonna put the money into spending to no reason. We're gonna spend it on something else that makes money or something makes sense for us. So we ran the numbers and said, okay, you know what, we're gonna buy it. It was a beautiful property. It was
there
really
was definitely an emotional component
emotional
to it.
component to it, but
It was a 1920s farmhouse on 3 acres. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Well, okay, actually, it was actually a mess. But like, but like when we walked through it, like we could see like there was under the carpets had been there since 1960. Like there was
original hardwood
beautiful
floors.
hardwood floors.
Cool.
And like the architecture of like the staircase, like everything was there so much potential. And so we knocked out some walls, we opened it up, and
yeah, so we decided to buy it, and then we right after as we bought it, we doing a renovation. This is what it was 2016 when my wife went to the pregnancy emergency, so everything stopped, and we've been like 6 months, nothing happened to the house, and eventually we finished it up. We lived there.
We did a lot of that ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much everything ourselves, wow. And then that's a big
like 3
learning.
times.
Yeah, so this was actually a big thing for us because that taught us what can we look for in a house and what to expect for renovation wise, and definitely help us to make our own design.
Yeah.
So right now, all our properties are very, very similar design wise because we kind of copy and paste what we do to our original house almost.
Yeah, it's a very clean cut Joanna Gaines style, like very clean cut palette. I like to create a palette that I can pop with colors or decorate, but like the background of the structure is like very clean.
And the quality of work, we actually know if, hey, we come to the property, we know what needs to be done, how it's supposed to be done. And I can know if, hey, you undercharging me or overcharging me because I did it myself and we did it ourselves. So we know what it entails. And when you go to a property and you see, hey, it's really ugly, but hey, I know I can make it nice. As long as the
you
price
can see
right.
past it.
So that's kind of, I think our first house that we bought was actually pretty. It was educational experience, just like the coffee shop had the same business wise. It's more like a real estate. Hey, instead of going to a $20,000 course to learn what to do, here's a house, fix it up and do it.
Yep.
So we did it.
Yeah, and it was like he refinished. There's 2,700 square feet in that house, and he refinished all the hardwoods of that floor. And there was the first room he did. You could tell that was his first time doing it. And then by the end, he was beautiful. Now, like he's got it. It's beautiful.
That's some work.
So it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, I love that approach of buying a fixer-upper house and fixing it up, that kind of live-in flip for many reasons, but you outlined several of them. Like it helps you understand what to look for. It helps you understand what kind of renovations you're comfortable doing yourself, what you need to hire out, what that might cost. You get to do that kind of slowly at your own pace, and there's so much learning that goes into that. I love the design tip as well. You get to experiment with design ideas that you could put into rental properties or flip houses or whatever you do from there. Any other encouragement for people that are trying to figure out, like, what do I do? Do I jump into a primary residence, or do I jump in for a house that I'm going to rent out and use it as an investment? Like, any other encouragement for people that are sitting on that bubble trying to figure out how to start their investing career?
I think that I'm a big believer, if I will do it again, and if I was single, not single, if there's any way, obviously there's a term going around everywhere, house hacking. Mm-hmm. If I can do that, I will do it 100%. If I can get a duplex, and which there's many duplexes that are available, it depends what area you are, I will buy a duplex. I will buy it. If it's trashed, if I can have the money to renovate it, I will do it. Or if it's maybe it's a little more expensive, but this is how I'll do it. A duplex or multifamily, a small multifamily, which is still qualify for a traditional loan or conventional loan. That's how I will do it if I was going backwards. However, if you want to buy a regular house, a traditional single family home, if you have the capacity to do something to work and you kind of buy under market value and kind of add value to it, and you're comfortable not living in a perfect house, I'm okay with that. Some people are not okay with it because they need some time, some space, or to be kind of relaxed at home.
It's hard to live in something that you're fixing up. It's hard to come home to a mess or to things. So that's so you don't have that personality then. Or you have to be able to have the financial capacity to rent some place temporarily and at least get the major stuff done. So, okay, maybe I need to do a little project here and there, but like the majority of it's done.
And if you're able to get maybe a small rental, that if you're able to support it, I think if you have 2 people working in a family, maybe you can, then a rental will be okay. There is a different, many opportunities. You can buy a rental, kind of have and kind of get a good one and have a property manager in the beginning. I think it's worth it.
And that was our condition, by the way. Like I said, I'll only do it. We may manage it initially ourselves, but I'll only do it if the numbers work with the property manager.
Yes, exactly. So that's my kind of 2 cents.
No, I like that a lot. And with all of the learning that goes into that, you're starting to hint at some things that you were looking for in that first deal, like that it cash flows with the property manager in place. So tell me about that transition from 2015 to 2020, you worked on this house, you built equity, you somehow tapped into that equity, cash out refinance or HELOC or something, I'm imagining, that propelled you into the next investment. So can you walk me through those steps?
Yeah, so we did tap into an equity, not specifically this property, it's something else. But we did tap into the equity and we were able to refi and get some cash out. So we were actually 2020, with 2019, actually, we were able to start investing and we looked at many, many, many houses. It was horrible houses, but we looked at them specifically because they were low budget and we knew that we can come in and do the work ourselves. We knew that we were able to do it, and we didn't, me and my wife and my father-in-law, we can do it. Yeah. And 2020, we finally got a property that was pretty cool situation. So we had some money down, and we kind of offered the person, "Hey, how about we give?" It was a completely no mortgage on the house. It was owned outright, in a estate sale per something like that. And I said, "Hey, how about I'll give you 30% down? I'll give you a higher price that you want for your property, well, meaning a negotiated price a little bit, but I will give you higher than my negotiated price originally was for cash offer, but you will finance it for 5 years, like owner finance."
Yeah.
And I offered that, and they took it. And then we have a family member that had some cash, and we said, "Hey, we need this money for renovation. Are you okay lending us for this price? And you get in the end of the term, when we refi, you will get all the money back." And I said, yes, we did it. And within 9 months, 10 months, we were able to.
It was a great experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So it was, everything did ourselves. So we learned a lot.
Wait, first of all, even though my dad's a GC and even though we've done our own house, like we still went in there and we're like, our budget's going to be like 25,000. And it was double that. But we ended up, yeah. But then we knew, but again, we hadn't really, we could have probably done it for 25, but it wouldn't have been like to the standards that we decided we wanted. We decided we didn't want to be, we wanted to rent to people. We wanted to have a house that we would be comfortable living in. It didn't have to be all the frills and everything, but if it wasn't something we were comfortable living in, I didn't want it. And so it needed to hit a certain level of standard. And again, we wanted people that would care for the house, and you're not going to get that if you don't show the house has care. Like, you're not going to get people that care as much.
And we didn't want to have too much maintenance later on, so we actually did all new plumbing, all new electric, all new HVAC. Like, we went in and said, "Okay, now what? We're going to spend all the money right now and not do it later." So there won't be no coals. No coals. That's a big thing for us. So that was a big thing.
It was very hands-on. We did a lot of that one ourselves because the budget didn't let for other things.
Exactly. We did everything ourselves. Taking the wall down. This is the sort of thing. You see a house. Oh yeah, this wall has to go out.
Always.
Like it's I say, okay, whatever. I always complain about it, but she always does it anyway.
It always looks so nice. Yeah. Like, especially these older houses in our area.
Yeah, so we built kitchens, we put everything together. The main stuff, then the electric, the plumbing, HVAC, we get professionals sometimes, but we got burned twice, but we learned, and we eventually through this burn, which everybody gonna have that, just that's anticipated. You're gonna get burned a couple times until you find the right person, and then you treat the person
really well and be willing to pay more. I think that's the biggest thing. Initially, we're like, "You're the cheapest. It's amazing," and we knew. We're like, even like my dad's on top of it. He's like, he's watching, and then we're like, "This is not gonna work." Like, like this is. Like you're putting light switches in stupid places, like I'm not even sure if you're like the how safe your wires are going to be. Like, we're done. Yeah. And so like we had those types of deals, and then in the end we found someone who was definitely more expensive, but I trust his work. He shows up on time. He's not drunk or hung out or whatever. He's there, and it's he's great. And so like it's worth it. We paid less paying him than we would pay having this guy come in who's cheaper, but like by the time you pay for all his mistakes and the liability of it's not worth it.
Yeah. Two really important things I want to unpack there that you said that I love. The first is your rule about making the property something that you would want to live in. So when my wife and I started investing, that was one of the rules that we had for ourselves, was that we were not going to buy a place that we would not live in ourselves. We would not treat it in a way that we wouldn't be comfortable with. Right. And I think that's really great. I love when people kind of establish these rules around the philosophy of investing, right? Because it's not just a play for money. We talk a lot about the finances and the numbers here, but it's a lifestyle in a way too. And so I love that you've approached it that same way, because I know a lot of people that do that. The other thing I want to make sure we go back to is you started off with owner financing, right? And
Yeah.
some of our listeners may not even know what owner financing is. So can you break down a little bit for me? What is owner financing quickly? And then why choose to go that route?
So owner finance is actually a really cool thing, and it usually works in a very specific situation where the person that owns a property has no mortgage on it. Maybe there is some mortgage you can do, but most likely no. Mostly you have to have like a zero mortgage or outright. The good thing about it is, first of all, if you own a finance, there's no hoops to run go back through lenders.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, if you have X amount of money, let's say you have $100,000 and the property costs you $80,000 and you need to renovate it with 60, well, you need to have $40,000 coming somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you have an owner finance, it will finance the whole property and you just put 20-30% down. You now have the property renovate, and you can do all the work. And once you finish the renovation, you can actually do the refi through a traditional bank or a mortgage company and get all the money out, and you still have that ability. So owner finance is a really great tool, specifically if it's a gentleman or family owned it forever and they want to sell it, and then you can actually offer them maybe a little higher price. They charge you a premium for the interest, but it's very easy to work with, and it's keeping your cash in your pocket to do other things. And as long as you know what you're doing, that's a really good strategy if you have a little bit not enough money to pursue. So this can help you to if you know somebody specifically that can maybe own a finance for you, that's a really good way to start. And it's a little less riskier, meaning your money is still available to do the right job for the property.
It's a great tool to keep in the toolbox, right? If you see a situation where it makes sense and it can preserve capital or give you opportunity to get a deal that someone else might not be able to take down, I think it's great. That's why I want to make sure we hit on that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you also mentioned a lot of in there about contractors that may not always be the best, and I think that those of us that have been around this long enough, we all have those stories of people that we hired, that we had this expectation, we thought that would be a good fit, something happened, it wasn't a good fit. So I think that that's a point of stress that a lot of people have when they go into remodeling a property. Is like, how do I find a contractor that's good? How do I identify that? And if there's a lack of fit, what do I do? Like, how do I resolve that quickly? So having been through that with both good contractors and bad contractors, what advice would you have for people that are out there looking for a contractor to work on their house?
Recommendation
would be the best. Obviously, you want to
Even
have
that doesn't.
Yeah, and that's something that can blow in the face because people are kind of recommending people. I hate people recommending or giving advice on something that just people like to do advice, and they say you should probably think about it before giving advice because you're really gonna it's affecting other people significantly. When they do the work, you should be there, or you
As
should
much as
as much as
possible.
possible and understand what they're doing. If there's red flags that's happening, they want money more upfront. They want more, they didn't do the work, but they want to get paid for that, and they're not showing up. Unfortunately, I think everybody will get burned one or twice. That's the way it is. The biggest thing for me, I think, when you find somebody, the right person, and they're charging you the right amount and or a little bit more, if you do the right job, you definitely want to keep them in hand. Other thing I want to mention also, sometimes I have some guys that give me a bid. I know it's underbid. I know they're giving me a low price. I understand the work that needs to be done.
And they might
I
be
will, and I will
they're
take,
good guys.
yeah, and I will take the bid, and I will let them work. And in the meantime, when I see the work is more and more and more, I actually come to them and say, "Hey, I know you told me that's $3,000. I know for a fact that this is you're way under the budget. You're way under, whatever. So I'm actually paying him more. Recently, I just paid like $2,000 more because I knew that what he told me was not right. But I didn't want to tell him right away. And my strategy was say, hey, you know what? I want you to see, and I want you to understand that I respect you and I understand your work, and I will pay you.
If they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Right.
And no, this guy, I know him. This guy is
Yeah.
good, and he did it the right thing. And I said, okay, I know you did underbid me. That's $2,000 more because I know it's not right. And that's a huge. Next thing it happens, if I need him or somebody else needs him, guess where he comes to?
I was going
My
to say,
property first.
as soon as you
That's
send
a
him a
big
text,
thing.
that guy's like, yeah, I'm over. What do you need?
Exactly, and he knows I'm truthful, and like, I mean, I'm honest, and he's honest. So that's end of the story. And I'm keeping him. He's my guy, and I have other guys,
Yeah.
but treat them right. Treat the good people right, and get
and
rid
fire
of
the other ones fast.
faster.
We walked into a property one time, and just recently, the guy was like a cheaper guy, but he presented really well, and he was good, but his subcontractors were not. And he goes in, and the drywall was hung
Upside down, backwards, literally.
Like,
Oh,
And I say, I never saw a black drywall ever in my life. I say, are you sure it's right? I say, yeah. I said, well, it's upside down, right? It's backwards. And obviously, he's not with us anymore. But
Oh, man.
it's still happening. You just testing. If you can test some contractors in a small job, see how they perform. If you can, obviously, but just prepare yourself. Just prepare yourself.
it's not the end of the world. You're
Yeah.
gonna fix it.
Just have a budget for it.
Yeah. And you make a really good point too about how it's a two-way street. Like I've talked with contractors that have got messed over by investors that aren't solid investors either, where they, don't pay them and it becomes a fight or things like that. But taking care of people, paying a fair rate, paying it right away, being honest and truthful with that helps that two-way relationship. And that sounds like you found that for the long term that's helped you in your growth here, because you're not just on this one property anymore, right? Like you've expanded substantially since just the last couple of years, right? Can you tell us about that for a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on the point. So my biggest thing, I love partners, and I select my partners very, very carefully. Right now at the end of this month, I'm not sure when the recording in, but at the end of this month, we're going to be around 50 units. So that's going to be phenomenal. But I use that for the strength of partnership, where I am the operator, I am the guy that create the deals and run the numbers. She finds the deals. We kind of make it happen. And the one partner actually is a good friend of mine. He helped me during the pandemic to send some care packages to my family, like vitamins, whatever. It was scarcity, but he sent them over. I said, hey, I want to help you out. I'm doing this virtual tours a little bit. If you want to come to your pharmacy, I do it. Next thing I know, talking about real estate, he comes to my renovation. I say, oh, cool, you're doing this. I love this. I say, yeah, okay. And next thing you know, we bought many properties together now. And the other partner is actually, she started as a private lender, and I said, hey, I need 20K for X amount of time, testing the water both ways. She testing me, I testing her, and next thing I know, I'm paying her back within 9-8 months, full everything. And I said, hey, I have this property coming out, like this package of properties coming up. Do you want to invest with me? And yes, and this investment was amazing. We bought it so amazing, and it's crazy. So through partnership, we analyze the deals and we just purchasing them. But I always negotiate from a strength and from numbers wise. So my negotiation, this is why I actually grew so fast. And I think also it's in the community, we known to be, if we say something and we commit to something, that's going to happen. If I say I'm going to buy your house, I'm going to buy your properties, that's going to happen. Most likely than not, 99%, unless something terrible happens, which will never happen, hopefully not. So that's kind of a big thing. Our word is a big thing, and people kind of trust our word. So, and also my negotiation, when I do look at the properties, I want to have a lot of equity in the beginning. But the way I come up and I kind of present myself, say, hey, you want X amount of dollars. I think it's 100,000 too much. Let me give you X, Y, Z. I'm writing an email with my numbers, why I'm giving the numbers, and then the negotiation works because they understand where I'm coming from, and then the price was incorrect. Obviously, I'm telling them, hey, I'm an investor. I'm not, I'm here for the money, so I cannot have, I'm not going to buy it just for cost. I need to be less than the cost. And
I have to walk out of the room when you negotiate.
My mom taught me that. When my mom buying clothes for me back when I was little, that's her thing. She go into
in Israel, so different culture completely.
Different culture. She go into a store. The person tells her, "Hey, it's gonna be $100." She immediately say, "I'll buy 2 for 50." and then there's a gap, and then eventually they come up. And the thing is, she said, always be willing to walk out. If it doesn't work out, just walk out. If they want you, they will come to you. But again, I'm almost fair, and so the deals we're having is amazing. We're about 50 units almost this month, and I'm pretty proud of myself and my wife and our partners that it's a lot of work. It takes a lot. You learn every day something new. You get texts from property management. Like today we have something happen. don't think I can tell yet, but 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call say, "Oh, that's not good." But it's always good, always fine because we have the system in place, which is a big thing.
System he's been really good about developing because his background. So before he was a pharmacist, he had a degree in economics and logistics, and so like he's really good with numbers and like systems. And so that's his strength. This past like 6 months has been really developing the system so he can take himself out of the equation.
That's what I'm trying to do: replacing myself, putting somebody else in there, going up, and then the same thing, replacing myself and go higher.
Because that's how we scale. Like the first project, we did it all ourselves. Like we had to bring in people for a few things, but we did it all ourselves. But that's not scalable.
Right.
You can't go to 50 units if you do it all yourself. And so that's what we've been really working on is the scaling.
Yeah, scaling up and replacing ourselves.
And how about financing through all of that? I know obviously with partners it can get variable, but is it a lot of private money? Are you doing a lot of conventional loans? Are these commercial loans? What is that looking like? Or is it just vary based on the project?
It varies, and we have different kinds. Like my personal properties, we have traditional loans, like 30-year mortgages on them.
Mm-hmm.
Just easy because they obviously as a pharmacist, you're making enough, so you're bankable. That's what I call
Right.
you're a bankable person. So they work with you up to a point. But then the other thing, we have some hard money, and we use them a little bit, maybe once or twice. Private money, yes, we have a lot of private money coming to us, but more like mortgages. But then the other one is actually private and not private, local banks. You have to develop a relationship with a local bank, and that's kind of I would say it's a big advice for some people if they want to listen to that. I will go to a branch and stick with a branch with a local bank if possible. So I go only to one branch of the bank, and I develop my relationship with this one branch because it's matter how much funding you put in through that, how much volume you put in through this bank, through this branch. It's values.
And also
So
treat him really well because like a lot of
yeah,
like with a lot of our closings, they're like everyone was talking about. Oh, Alex was so nice. He's so sweet. Like everybody's like like because he goes in there, he's nice to everybody. It's not just like the guy you're dealing with, and so
yeah.
people
It
notice
goes a long
that.
way. It does.
Yeah. So local banks is a big thing. If you can develop a relationship with a local bank and you prove, obviously you need to have more down payment. This is where the private money can come in through partnership. But local banks are really, they want to work with you. And that's what they're making. This is how they make their money through loans. And if you are proving yourself and you man of your word and you do what you say you're going to do and you actually provide value and you kind of increase the value of the properties as well, they'll work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And they will work with you amazingly, and eventually you're going to be on a I can text the VP in the bank and say, hey, I'm doing this, can we meet? Sure, let's talk about it. So just build a relationship, and yes, you will probably use hard money if you need to. It's a good idea to work with them and understand the process. You need to have private money. That yes, it's definitely going to help you a lot to kind of make the deal in the beginning to go first, but learn the process, learn the finance, learn who is in the business, go to the meetings and find other investors that does to do that. Maybe you can provide value to them. And there's so many investors like us and like you. I know if somebody asks us about real estate, we are like, let's talk about it. Let's have yeah, we love to share. We enjoy it. We enjoy this topic. So that's why kind of my 2 cents. And if you want to learn something, find somebody that does that. I'm 100% sure, unless they maybe they're old school and they don't want to share anything, but they will talk to you about everything. They'll share with you this because most people are I'm an abundance mindset saying there's plenty of things to do. If you buy this property instead of me, I can find something else tomorrow. There's so much to do. That's my my mindset.
Well, guys, I love it. You went from a live-in flip and taking a few years to do that to suddenly just like stepping on the gas and stepping on the gas hard, picking up like now almost 50 rental units here in just the last few years. So with that story of going from just 1 to 50 in a few years, what's next? What do the next few years look like for you guys?
So next few years, actually, we're looking into the Airbnb space as well. But my biggest thing right now, and that's why we build a community as well. I think we're at a point where people are asking us a lot of questions, and they want to kind of learn what we do, especially the pharmacists, healthcare professionals. So I'm trying to be the guy that in the community in our space in the area that hey, you want to talk real estate and healthcare professional, you talk to this guy. So I'm trying to build myself to that way and provide value to all to anybody who wants to. So I'm kind of trying to see if I can grow bigger with other healthcare professionals, just to take be the group
to do the bigger deals.
Exactly, the bigger deals, not the small one.
Yeah.
But that's our next goals. And we have other projects coming up, like we talking about aquaponics maybe, and like really cool stuff. That and my biggest thing is like to be financial free and just be full time in real estate and as soon as I can. But I do enjoy the pharmacy work. I think the overnight position gave me a lot of freedom during the week because it's a 7 on 7 off, so
Yeah.
it's giving you freedom a little bit sometimes. What about you?
I'm
She has a 6.5-year-old that's running the show.
Trying to survive each day
No doubt.
sometimes. No, like our goals. I think our biggest thing is like we really took down like the principles of success. Like write your goals down. So we wrote our goals down a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And completely met all of our 5-year goals in much, much less time. So now we have to really sit down and rewrite out our goals.
That's awesome.
That's been like our we've been very busy this last month, but that's like the thing that we need to sit down and do is because we want to grow big, but how exactly do we want to grow? And like, do we want to make sure that we're challenging ourselves? And then we want to go into some short-term rental type stuff. And actually we just put a contract on a property that we're going to do short-term rental, which I'm excited about.
Cool.
But like, like where are we heading? So yeah.
I love the intentionality of that. And again, I think your design style will help a bunch with whatever short-term rentals or whatever you go to next. So that's really cool. So I want to take a second and flip to our final segment, final infusion. 3 questions we ask every guest on the show and get your take. The first one is, what's one tangible strategy that helps you make sure that your investing works hand in hand with your career as a pharmacist?
So you need to be, first of all, you need to be aware of your financial situation, where you're at, how much money you actually can dispose and allocate. And I will honestly, I think the biggest thing is if you can find somebody to not mentor you or just kind of show you the ropes, it will be amazing. For me, I'm a very conservative guy, so I will actually look at the deal, I analyze many, many deals, and I'll kind of can go into analysis paralysis sometimes. My other half, she like, yes.
I'm that's my problem. I walk into a mess and I'm like, I look past it, I see it, I'm like, it's so beautiful. And he's like, there's insulation falling down. So like we balance each other.
Yeah, so just know your financials and just do your homework and analysis and kind of see what can you make really. What's the goals? Are you making you want the value? You want cash flow? What is your maybe some simple goals will be definitely helpful a lot. And like you want to go rentals, you want an Airbnb, you want this flip, whatever you want to just kind of have some sort of goal.
Yeah, real estate's very broad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Narrowing it down, finding like your specific niche, at least to start. And I mean, maybe where you end, but like start.
No, absolutely. I think that can definitely, I think a lot of pharmacists resonate with that analysis paralysis. So I like those tips of like find people to balance that, narrow in on what you're doing. I love it.
I think if you can partner with somebody, and if you're not ready, a partner will be a good idea. If you know each other very, very well, trust each other, a partner is I'm all for partnership.
Love it. What's one resource that's been most helpful to you in your real estate journey, whether it's a book, podcast, person, author, website, whatever that would be?
We are big fans of Bigger Pockets. So I think we started out listening to them when they were only in a few hundred episodes at that point. Even if that, way before, they were just getting started, and they've been a major resource, especially just like the books. Again, like we talked about success principles, and there are certain ones that are just across the board, no matter where you go. And I think that they do a really good job of applying them to real estate, especially we really love Brandon Turner.
Yeah, it's pretty
Brandon
cool.
Turner on Bigger Pockets.
That's a good one. All right, and then you guys have dropped a bunch of these already, but I love your advice, and I want to hear more of it. So, what's one piece of advice that you'd give to a pharmacist that's contemplating a start in real estate investing?
Do it. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah,
and we got stuck, and you're like, it has to be the perfect deal. Everything has to be lined up. Everything has to check every box. Just start. Like, find one. It may not be the perfect deal. Make sure you're not going to lose your shirt. But it doesn't have to hit every single box. Sometimes you just need to start, and then you get that momentum moving. It's like the snowball rolling down the hill. Like you'll get more going on, and you're going to learn from it. But if you don't start, you're never going to learn.
Love it.
Yeah. Not now though, but make sure you don't buy an emotional. If you can buy a non-emotional like buying, then it's going to be amazing. Because then you don't want to buy something like super expensive that you can think is going to be amazing. Just do a little research before you do that. But but yes, if you can start, just do it.
I love it. I love the energy. I love the momentum. I love the nuggets you're throwing out there that are helpful tips for people. If people want more, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
So we are on Instagram, Failaev Alex. This is my last name, my first name. We starting our YouTube channel, but it's not active yet. So we kind of just want to usually do videos on Facebook and also video on Instagram, like more long, like 10 minutes or so, kind of showing stuff around and giving some value add to people. But yeah, Instagram would be probably the best thing to find me.
Perfect. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes so you can find everybody can reach out if they want to connect with you guys. And again, really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, sharing some awesome wisdom with us, and really excited to see where you guys go in the future. I fully anticipate having you guys back on the show in the future just to talk more about what you've been up to. So
I really hope so. Yeah, it was so much fun.
It'd be fun to see.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna get some really cool deals. Say, hey, you have to listen about this.
Exactly. That's what we want. I love it. Well, thanks again for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Have a good night.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the YFP Real Estate Investing Podcast. If you like what you heard on today's show, please leave us a review and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. If you have a question, know someone that would make a good guest, or want to connect with Nate or David, head on over to yfprealestate.com and join the growing YFP Real Estate Investing Facebook group. As we conclude this week's episode of the YFP Real Estate Investing Podcast, an important reminder that the content in this podcast is provided to you for your informational purposes only and is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for investment or any other advice. Information in the podcast and corresponding materials should not be construed as a solicitation or offer to buy or sell any investment or related financial products. We urge listeners to consult with a financial advisor with respect to any investment. Furthermore, the information contained in our archived newsletters, blog posts, and podcasts is not updated and may not be accurate at the time you listen to it on this podcast. Opinions and analyses expressed herein are solely those of your financial pharmacist, unless otherwise noted, and constitute judgments as of the dates published. Such information may contain forward-looking statements which are not intended to be guarantees of future events. Actual results could differ materially from those anticipated in the forward-looking statements. For more information, please visit yourfinancialpharmacist.com/disclaimer. Thank you for your support of the YFP Real Estate Investing Podcast. Have a great rest of your week.